So maybe you're feeling it. Like we are standing on the edge of something and everything is about to change. If you are feeling that, you are not alone. So come on in and we'll talk about it. Cause me to hear your loving kindness in the morning, for in you do I trust. Cause me to know the way in which I should walk, for I lift up my soul to you. Deliver me, O Lord, from my enemies. In you I take shelter. Revive me, O Lord, for your name's sake. Morning. Morning to you. I feel like we're standing on the edge of a different world. Not just someday far away in the future, but right now. In some ways, it feels like we've already crossed into it. It feels like the current technologies are in phase 1, being used mostly as tools or trends, but it's becoming a part of the very fabric of our lives. And inevitably, phase 1 becomes phase 2, which becomes phase 3, and ends up in the hands of people with bad intentions. Because of the brokenness of humanity, none of these technologies ever seem to be able to remain just a helpful tool. And it seems more and more that through so many of these things, they're going to try to redefine what it means to be human. And so if you've been feeling unsettled lately, if you felt like the ground beneath your feet is shifting, you're not imagining it, friend. We're entering an era where you might not know if the voice you're hearing is real. The person you're chatting with might not be a person at all. And entire industries could vanish almost overnight. So we sit and we ask ourselves what happens to us when the world becomes that fluid, when we can't tell what's real and we don't have time to slow down and find out. There's a strange ache that I feel about the coming shift, a grief for the tactile, the known, the grounded, a longing for slowness, for truth, for something real. But the truth is, no one can fully prepare for what's ahead. We can choose how we respond, we can strengthen what's within our control, our health choices, our faith, our mindset, our discernment. Because readiness isn't about being able to predict the whole future. It's about being rooted enough to stand firm no matter what the future holds. Check the focus on you. Highly requested dad content. See, now everybody else knows you're a legend, not just me. That's why. My notes, though, you've not been privy to any of this, nor even the topic. It's part of the fun.
That's part of the fun.
How you remember food being different as far as, all the convenience today. We have fast food on every single street corner, and you've told me a bunch of times, like, you remember stories of certain person coming and bringing certain food on one day of the week.
Well, we had a milkman. It was Bill Ryan, and he had lost half of his arm, but he had a really strong biceps, and he would carry this cage filled with glass bottles of milk, and he was such a friend to the family. I mean, he would come twice a week. He was such a friend to the family that he wouldn't even knock on the door. He'd come in the side door into the kitchen, just walk in, and go over to the refrigerator and put the bottles in the refrigerator, And then we also had a little place where you could eat next to the kitchen there. And he'd sit down and said, "Mary, where's my coffee?" That's my mom, is Mary. And the milk used to come with the cream on the top, in the
It was
glass
probably
jars.
local, like raw.
It was absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we had Bill Perrine. He was the egg man. So he would bring the eggs every week. Every Friday, the fish man would come.
See, that's
but it was all whole food. It
I was
was
going
all
to say it's like
wholesome.
the original DoorDash,
Yeah,
only and not food that kills you.
exactly.
So part of the heart of this is you were really connected to the people that were providing your food. It was a very real experience, connected to the food, knew who was bringing it. They were really connected to the people. I'm assuming that they were getting the product from the farmers or the people.
Sure,
local.
even up the lane from us was the butcher.
Right.
And my father would go up there for his steaks. He'd walk right in the back, and they'd pick out a nice piece of meat, and he would cut it right there.
And
for
he had
my
a
father.
relationship.
Oh, with everyone.
with him,
Sure,
right.
absolutely. This wasn't Andy of Mayberry, and my mom was a good cook too. And
She was the best.
she was the
She
best.
was the best.
And she believed in butter, which is one of my favorite foods. Butter.
I always recommend butter on my channel. Since 1949, do you feel like lately the pace of things changing in your lifetime has picked up?
It's actually scary.
Yeah.
We didn't have a television until I was like probably 5 or 6 years old.
Right.
And before that, we'd sit around the kitchen table and listen to a radio. I can remember listening to the Lone Ranger
Yeah.
on radio. Really, all we did was play. We'd go out to play, and in the morning, during the weekend or in the summer, and wait for my mother to ring the bell at 5:30, and everybody would come. All the kids would go back to their families and have dinner. And it was so simple, and then television. Then you jump to computers and to smartphones, and it's hard for anybody to really understand what a huge leap that is in technology in a short period of time. But now you have things happening that they said, oh, maybe this will happen by the year
Like a sci-fi movie, like
2045 or something like that. And now they're saying, you're going to jump. There's not going to be any smartphones anymore.
in 10 years.
There's going to be
yeah.
tattoos that you can work like a smartphone, opposed to you having to press buttons. I still haven't figured out how to use my thumbs on a smartphone, and now I'm not even going to have a smartphone.
This wasn't that long ago, because one of my favorite memories. So my dad, the office that my dad worked in when I was younger, it was in an old Victorian house that was turned into an office. And when I would first go visit you at the office, it was typewriters. That was in my lifetime, and all the huge big files and everything was in the brown boxes. And I just remember the smell. I loved the smell of the paper, like everything. It was like the sun baking on the paper through and I can remember the smell. The things that you were talking about everybody was playing and everybody was going outside, and you had to really use your imagination. We had a big woods behind our house when I was growing up, and I was really into the Narnia series because of my dad. He would read me all the books, and the woods in the back had a random metal pole. I don't know what it was from.
No, it was lantern waste.
It was lantern waste. Okay, well, you didn't tell me that at the time. Thank you for not ruining my childhood. I thought it was like a random lantern in the middle of the woods, so I was convinced that it was like an entrance to Narnia. We don't know what the whole time frame is. But it does feel like we're standing on the precipice of something.
Yeah.
Now they're saying it. It's not sci-fi. They're not saying it's not in some movie and they're saying maybe in the year 2050. They're saying you are not going to even have a phone in 10 years. They're telling us.
Now they're saying like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they're telling us. So people are feeling it. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." I think it's wise and smart to do some prepping if you're able to, like on a physical level, but I think it's even more important to prepare for what's potentially coming spiritually, because ultimately we don't have as much control over the physical.
The only strength that you're going to have going forward is the strength that you have in your faith, but also in the actual Word of God, because that will be the test of everything, and you have to be strong in it, because it's going to be very difficult at some point, or be made difficult for you in the physical. That strength can't waver, has to be, it is said.
Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I talked in the last video that we're not going to be able to trust what we see and hear, because we're not going to know what's real and what's not real. So that transforming of the mind and that hanging on to what is written, that's the only thing that we're going to have to be able to discern. All right, Luke 21:36 says, but stay awake at all times, or be alert at all times, praying that you may have strength to escape all these things that are going to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. So this is telling me that whatever is coming, whether Jesus is coming back in 3 years, 10 years, 25 years, but regardless of that, we know that the landscape of life is about to change, because they're telling us it's about to change. In order to have the type of strength or the level of strength to overcome what's coming, or to be discerning of what's coming, is to be in a continual state of prayer, which in my humble opinion is just acknowledging God in everything that we do. Let's say I came to you. Let's just say that. I came to you and I said, Dad, I'm feeling scared. I know all this stuff is coming. I feel like we're on the edge of something. What would you say to me? What would be your dad talk? And you can process it for a minute.
I'm thinking of my friend Marquise, and he would probably say something like, God got you, man. God is shelter. God is peace. It passes all understanding. But he's also the sovereign God. He is, like you had mentioned to me, I think it was last week or so, when you were saying that, it's one thing to believe in God, but everybody pretty much believes in God, very small amount of people.
Even a lot of atheists actually believe in God.
Absolutely. That's different than believing God. You need something to hold on to, an anchor, to get you through things and to bring you, to the finish line. And that anchor is God, and it's believing God, and which is believing His word. That's an anchor. I remember when I had gone off myself into all of the different paradigms of esoteric thought and theology, and then when I came back to the basic faith that I was brought up with, it was like coming home. Where there's love, there's a hearth, there's warmth, and no matter what goes on, the chaos that's going on around you, there's that hearth, there's that warmth, there's that fireplace, and that love from God that surpasses all understanding.
I have nothing to add to that. That's really good. So you guys got your dad moment. If you want more dad moments, we'll try to convince him. Let me know in the comments. Thank you, Daddy.
The truth is, we weren't designed to keep up with machines. We were made to walk in creation and with our God. We can't outrun what's coming, so we need to be rooted in spite of it. There's wisdom in preparing, but preparedness isn't solely about stocking shelves or upgrading tech. It's about stewarding your health, guarding your mind, discerning what you allow into your heart. It's about knowing what's real and clinging to it. Studying the real so that when the counterfeit comes, you're more aware of it. Because as the world accelerates, what will matter most is what's unchanging: truth, love, wisdom, and the gospel of God. Luke 21:36 doesn't call us to panic. It calls us to pay attention, to remain awake in a world that is asleep and synthetic, to abide in the only place that cannot be shaken, the secret place of God. So if you felt weary lately, you're not alone. And maybe it's not a weakness. Maybe it's a signal that your soul is crying out for more of what's real. That you're not meant to just survive the world that's coming, but to walk through it with a peace that surpasses all understanding, with discernment that is supernatural in nature, and with rooted purpose. And that starts by preparing one thing at a time from the inside out. Friend, if you've been looking to go deeper in your walk with God, I just want to remind you that my book is out, Becoming God's Daughter, Living in Identity, Healing, Daughterhood, and Calling. The heart of the book is the Lord restores my soul, and learning to deeper abide in the presence of God, and learn how He sees you as a child, and what that means as you walk throughout the world. And if you're looking to work on your health layer by layer, I also have my Healing Era program and my 30-day Glow Up Reset Challenge. which is 30 days of getting on the right track no matter the season of life. Each of the days of the reset, there's a clickable video link with a short encouraging message from me so that you don't have to feel like you're doing it alone. Strengthen yourself now if you're able, and do things that are going to put you in a sober state of mind for what's coming. Friends, I appreciate you so much for sharing a piece of your day with me. I love you, and Lord willing, I will see each and every one of you, beautiful and precious souls, right here on the next one. Bye, friends.